Emma Frame here, and welcome to Voices of Yoga podcast, co-hosted with Lindsay Porter, where we bring you inspiring yoga stories and insights from yogis and teachers from around the world. These stories highlight the benefits of yoga and encourage those who maybe haven't started yoga yet to get started, and for the more experienced to delve deeper. We hope you enjoy. This is video podcast number 12.
Great. So today I'm absolutely delighted to have on our show Michelle Nicklin. Michelle has very kindly joined us before on the podcast, but we are returning for another section to our chat previously. And Michelle is a yoga teacher. She is also the founder of Sandstone Yoga and Pilates studio, and she is a franchise owner of the yoga studio and Pilates, and is doing teacher training on and offline when we get back to normal. So welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back, Emma.
Now, normally, as you know from the last time, we like to delve into people's backgrounds and personal stories about how they found yoga. And I think in our previous podcast, you talked about finding yoga on a physical level to begin with, but that your background had been quite spiritual in your own private life, and that you knew that was always going to be more to it than that first level. So I'm just wondering if you can explain or share a bit more about what your background was and why you kind of deep down knew that there would be a spiritual level to a yoga practice.
Well, that's a really good question, and it kind of hit me straight away because I was 16 years old. I'd never done yoga before, but I'd gone to church all of my life. It wasn't, I'm from a Christian background. It wasn't a traditional church, and we did lots of things in Africa and things like that. It was very, very ethnically diverse, and I'd always felt something inside, a connection. So some people might call it God, some people might call it the universe. I'd always felt this kind of connection. I was 16 years old and I was in the Warsaw Library. I'm from a town called Warsaw, which is near Birmingham. And there was a video there back in the days when you could hire videos from libraries. And I took the yoga video home and I did it. And at the end of it, I felt just like I might have done if I'd been praying. It was really strange.
Okay.
So even from this first fairly physical yoga class, and I'd done the postures, as we sat in silence at the end, I just felt the same sense of relief and release and connection that I did. And this was from a video, and I just thought, wow, there's more to yoga than you think.
Of course.
It really can help you connect. And then I didn't go to church for a long time. I carried on going to different churches. I travelled around a lot. I went to uni. I went overseas for a couple of years, came back, went to live in Africa for a bit. And I didn't really go to kind of formal churches. I did when I was in Africa. And I always found a church where I was because that's where I could find peace. Hadn't kind of explored Buddhism or anything like that at the time, any other kind of more Eastern, religions or philosophies. But I always knew that when I did yoga, it gave me the same sense of peace and connection that I had when I went to a church.
That's wonderful. And quite interesting because to have found even a yoga video maybe back in the day in a church is quite unusual. Having experienced myself that for a long time churches wouldn't even rent out a hall to yoga teachers.
Yeah.
Because there was that sort of underlying misunderstanding of it being a religion in the way that they think of religion. So you didn't experience anything of that?
I was, when I first started to become a yoga teacher, sort of in my late 30s, when my kids were kind of growing up, I opened some church halls. Well, I started in my attic and then I went into some school halls and various things, and I had no problems with any schools whatsoever, even if they were religious, saying you can't come here. I had no problem with church halls. But then I opened in a village called Aldridge, my first yoga studio about 7 years ago, and someone said to me, that there's some Christian people in Aldridge who will be really anti what you do. And I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, they won't, you'll get really strong boycotts. There's some real people in Aldridge who will hate you doing yoga. They'll think that you can't be a Christian and do yoga. I didn't have any of those experiences. We used to teach baby yoga, And I remember trying to hire a hall from a vicar in my hometown in Warsaw when there was still just me we were called Bliss in those days, in Sandstone. And he said, I won't let you take those baby souls.
Interesting.
He says, you're not having those baby souls. And I said, but I'm a Christian and we won't be praying or chanting. We're just doing the physical for wind releasing, for colic, for muscle development, for muscle memory, for helping them to roll over, helping the mum to connect. All the amazing benefits that you get from anything like that. He said, you're not having their souls.
How interesting. Hopefully we have moved on from that in terms of the yoga community is so much more mainstream now that probably new teachers won't experience that, which has got to be a good thing for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I train a lot of teachers, as you know, and we've moved our academy online for this year. We'd already started one course, so they would, you know, that had to go online immediately because that was at the beginning of lockdown. And then as we're going to come out, we're going to put them back into, you know, our studios and carry on with that. But the online teacher training that's running now, I'm going to be, you know, the conversations that we'll be having, the whole world's online now.
Of course.
You know, so yeah, things have moved on. Definitely. When I first started, one of my biggest joys in my whole yoga journey is that 35 years ago, when I first started to do yoga myself, it was a dark art. You couldn't find anyone that did it. And if you found Maureen on a Wednesday night, I don't know, in Plymouth Road, you'd go the next week and she wouldn't be there. And you wouldn't have a phone number and you'd lost your yoga. There was nowhere else to go. You know, so, and now it's everywhere. And that's not a bad thing, in my opinion. There's something for everyone. I train, you know, I've trained, you know, I'm into the hundreds of yoga teachers that we have trained, not just me, but my academy, the Sandstone Yoga Academy, have trained. And I say when they're sitting there, we're quite strong on the business of marketing, you know, the yoga as a business, and seeing it as a business. And some people don't want to see it as a business, that's fine. But, you know, I want them to have access to that training. And I say there's enough for all of you out there. You know, and even with the whole world now doing yoga, there's still enough for everybody out there. You know, there really is. Absolutely. You know, until every single person in the world is doing yoga, there's going to be more than enough.
Yes, I think it's the new people starting that maybe haven't experienced it. Now that we're online, it gives them the opportunity to have a go, which they may find a class environment, you know, a bit more intimidating, but to give it a try online might be their first step into yoga.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of barriers. I mean, I've done all models, you know, so I've been practicing yoga 20 years, then I trained to teach it, not because I wanted to be a yoga teacher, but because I couldn't find a teacher around here that I liked when I first, you know, when I got settled. And at the beginning, it was really hard to get people into classes, you know, and then now it's just not. Now it's online. I think you know, I've done everything. So I've had people in my house, so that used to put people off. Then I went into the church halls, and that used to put some people off. Then I opened a studio and more studios. And there's a lot of people who have barriers to yoga studios. And then there's the thing, oh, gym yoga can't be as good as a yoga studio. And then there's lots of conversations that aren't helpful. Just get on your mat.
Yes. Exactly.
Find a teacher you like and get on your mat. That's what I would say. So, and that's really been, those barriers have been eroded.
Which is great.
And
touching on the fact that the business side of it, so you have created Sandstone Yoga and Pilates studio, and then you decided that you would create a franchise format, which you've touched on. And I read that you sort of did it on the background of kind of creating a family environment that you and your tutors could support the franchisee and really keep that sort of community spirit. How do you think that kind of environment has helped during the COVID? Do you think that's been beneficial?
Absolutely. So a brilliant question. I franchised originally because when I first opened my own studio, my mental health fell off a cliff. Okay, so I got the keys and then was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Why on earth did I do this? I love yoga. I don't even need the money. You know, I don't even need the money. Why have I done this? But then obviously A few months later, things were starting to get better, and I had a supportive family around me. I became quite quickly in a position, because the studio was so successful and my teacher training and my retreats were busy, it was still based around me. I thought, I need to get another one. We need to grow this vibe, because people love this. The Sangha that we created was really renowned. It was authentic. But I just thought, I've got the money, but I don't want to. I don't want 3. I don't want 4. I just want 1. 1's enough for me. But then I decided to franchise, because I thought I can help that person so they won't go through what I went through. You know, they won't go through all of that building up a business and setting it up and having problems with your landlord and the roof leaking, because I'll help them with that. I'll be able to help them. And we can have frameworks and formats for that. So franchising did create a real buzz, and we were really tight as a franchise network. And then obviously, you know, we have to lock down. And we've seen the writing coming on the wall. So anyone who's in the yoga world will know that we didn't really shut down on the Friday when Boris shut us down. We actually shut down 3 weeks before. It was just that we had to keep going. It was in, you know, we were already starting to not do brilliantly then. So we'd already had a meeting on the Monday. So this is the benefit of a franchise network, or the benefit of a family, is that we met on the Monday on Zoom. So we were already ahead of the game. We didn't know the whole world was going to be on Zoom. We started to look at platforms. How are we, because we had 60 teachers that worked for us at the time, how are we going to give as many of these teachers work? What does the studio timetable look like, the super studio between all 4 studios, rather than just one here, one here, one there? So we were able to get, I don't want to say the best from every studio, that's not true, but we were able to find people from each studio that could fit in at the slots that made it all very equally representative of different studios.
So you were quick off the mark.
We were quick off the mark, but each studio owner only had to do a 1/5 of the work to get the same results. They only, you know, so Louise only has to work. I mean, they're still working in a different way now, because we've got an online studio. So they're still talking to people every day about trying to get them into the classes, you know.
Yes.
But they've only got to manage a few of those classes and personally pay for a few of those classes. So
you had done really well to sort of move from you as an individual into franchising, because quite often teachers will say that even if they get a cover teacher, sometimes their students are just there because they really like the teacher. So you've done really well to then make a franchise of your ethos to accept other teachers, and that then has helped you produce an online program of lots of other teachers.
I think so, but the thing is that I was a really popular teacher, and I still am. You know, if I put a retreat on, it fills, and my teacher training fills. I teach a lot of the teacher training. The CPDs are always really busy, but I had to put myself into the background more. So I was more than happy to build up other people in my franchise network, in my family, because it wasn't about Michelle Nicklin anymore, it was about Sandstone. So I am synonymous with Sandstone, but my franchise owners are also synonymous with Sandstone. So if we endorse them, you know, that they accept that they would be not the same as me, but it's a stamp. Yeah, it is a stamp. It is something to be part of our family. I really think that.
And are there many? Is that an unusual way to go in terms of yoga studios to be a franchise? Is it?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I was seen as a bit of she wants to be the McDonald's of the yoga world. Well, no, I don't actually, because I'm one of the few yoga studio owners who doesn't mind mentioning God. You know, so actually, people say, "Oh, franchising's really bad." She's the woman who introduced the F into yoga. She brought the F word into yoga. But actually, franchising is the ultimate in not having a massive ego.
Of course,
it's the ultimate, because you're laying yourself lower. You're making yourself smaller and hiding away to put a name in front of you. So you're going into the background to push other people forwards and to encourage them to carry on the vibe. but the vibe isn't about making money. You have to make money, but our vibe and our values are everywhere. They're on our website, you know, in everything we do. Our values are really, really important to us. So, you know, and that's about authentic practice. That's about inclusivity. That's about affordable yoga. That's about non-pretension. That's about inclusivity and not having cliques in yoga studios. I just can't bear it.
So you're still doing your teacher training online and you're still providing the opportunity for people to franchise. But I notice you're talking about your online studio. So is the franchise slightly different now that you've got this online opportunity or is
Yeah, that's another good question. So we had to decide quite early on because we've got 3 more studios in the making. But quite rightly, none of those guys wanted to open a studio in the current climate, you know. And I don't want to be opening yoga studios with people, not particularly at this minute. So we have, and I don't know. I mean, Victoria's Secrets has gone now. There's loads of big, you know, Carphone Warehouse has gone online now. There's loads of really big brands that have got really brilliant business brains behind you are saying, we can carry on, it will be a lot different, but we don't need all of that square footage.
Of course.
So I'm not saying that we'll only ever be an online provider. We will not. But for now, I don't envisage that we can open more studios if we get the right people in the right places at the right time and, you know, things move on a bit. But there was always a lot of people who wanted to buy into Sandstone, but they didn't want the bricks and the mortar. So we've we've come up with 2 levels to join our franchise now. So the top level, not the top level, but the one with the biggest buy-in is the bricks and mortar one. You know, a bit like Louise, you have a studio, you have a license for 10 years, you have 10 years to make your money on that studio, but also to do a job you love and to run retreats and to serve your customers. But that's a very different offering. And now we've just released our Petra package, which is proving really, really popular. And that is a much smaller fee. And you become an online, you have access to our online yoga studio. So straight away, you've got a whole yoga studio.
Perfect.
So people see you as Sandstone Yoga in Glasgow, say. And then, you know, you've got that whole super studio there. So you've got 25 classes a week to sell. And then obviously you can do retreats. You can also do your classes in the community as well once that becomes available. So we're going to carry on with everyone's asking me this, what's going to happen when it gets back to normal? Well, people who ask that don't realise normal's gone forever.
I agree.
The new normal will be a vibrant online community and a much, I think not much reduced, but a community, you know, a community, whether it's in a studio or whether it's in community venues.
Of course, yeah.
So that's what we're looking at now. So the Marrakesh package, because we're Sandstone, and it was named after, you know, North Africa and Jordan. Petra's my favourite place. That's why I called it Sandstone. So you've got that. You've got the Marrakesh package, which allows you to open a studio and have access to online and the teacher training. And we've got the Petra package, which allows you to have access to online and to have community venues and to run retreats.
But you have to have gone through the Sandstone teacher training first to get...
No, not at all. In fact, as part of both of the packages, you get the teacher training included.
Right, okay.
So we are talking to people all the time who are saying, I'm, you know, particularly now, I'm about to be made redundant. Can I come and join you? But I'm not a yoga teacher. Well, as part of your setup, the amount you pay, you get trained in how to run the Sandstone business in your area, and we set you up and we help you, and you also get the yoga teacher training, so you become a yoga teacher.
Brilliant. So keeping on the business theme, for those who aren't that familiar with yoga, we as yoga teachers know about the 8 limbs, and one of them is, or 2 of them are the yamas and the niyamas, and you've spoken about using those guidelines, so there are sort of 10 guidelines that you can use in life, that you've applied them into business to help people make ethical moral decisions if they reach a business dilemma, which is extremely interesting if you want to touch on that. But also, are there any other areas of philosophy of yoga that you've applied to business?
Well, I think there's probably two, really. And one is about finding your Dharma. So I was interviewed last week for another podcast. It's called Misadventures in Entrepreneuring.
Yes, I've heard of them, yes.
And they're Scottish.
Yes, I think actually co-host Lindsey is due to be on the show at some point.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're really good. And I know them through Entrepreneurial Spark, which is a mentorship program I've been through, which was also based in Birmingham, but the head office was in Edinburgh.
Yes, I know.
And she was asking me a similar thing. You know, how on earth can you be so resilient? How is it? And I'm like, because this is my Dharma. And she's like, what does that mean? I'm like, well, God's been with me since I was so young. We've been with everybody, I know, but I mean, with me, I've got that connection. Some people just don't realize he's there, I guess, or haven't connected. But for me, because God's there, and I know what my Dharma is, what the reason I'm here in this lifetime, the reason I'm here on earth, I know that God's told me that my mission on earth is to get yoga out to as many people, authentic yoga to as many people as I can, because it helps and heals so many. So because I know that's my Dharma, I know that's why I'm here. I've obviously got my own family as well, and I've got a great social life, and I'm not, you know, I'm not a workaholic or anything like that. That's my life. That's my purpose in this lifetime, to do that. So that's how I can be resilient. If something comes, I just think, well, it'll be fine again tomorrow, or just got to get my head around this and it'll be fine. Having a Dharma really grounds you and makes you very confident in being authentic and confident in accepting rejection from other people, and really not caring what people think, not being rude to people. You know, I'm not being rude, but really not caring that what other, you know, people might think, oh, she doesn't handstand every day and hasn't got completely ripped abs. How can she be a yoga teacher? Or she's been doing it for years now. She should give someone else a go. Oh, she just wants to franchise some 8 loads. No, I know why I'm doing this, you know, and that's really helped me in picking good franchisees, because I've interviewed quite a lot. And you get to the point where you can tell if people really want it when you interview them. You can tell if people really burning with that passion, you know. So having a Dharma has really helped me. It's made me really, we all have a Dharma, right? But not everyone's discovered it yet.
Of course.
You know, so I was lucky that I found mine quite early on, and it's never really changed. So I'm still sitting in my attic here where I started doing my yoga practice. Yeah. And then I had a few students, and now I'm back here, which is crazy. And now it's like I'm under lights because it's a film set, because I have to, you know, I'm putting my CPDs online. I do yoga for pregnancy. So for postgrad teachers, if they want to learn, you know, pregnancy yoga or yoga nidra in more depth. So yeah, it's just, sometimes you have to kind of pinch yourself really when you get that Dharma, how far it can take you. Yeah. And I still wake up every day and think I haven't done very much yet. There's so much more to do.
That's the problem with entrepreneurialism, isn't it? Is that you feel there's always another area to get into.
Yeah, there's always another area to get into, but also there's just another day to be had, living this life that's so great that I get to wake up, and some days I do yoga every day for me, but I don't teach yoga every day. I'm just talking about it all the time. Yes. I'm meeting people, I'm writing about it, I'm on social media about it. I just love it. The other bit of yoga philosophy that's very interesting, it's not philosophy, but like more of this chitta vitta, this up and downness of the mind. There's these mind, you know, that's been something that I live by a lot, because I have been blown around by the storms, as anyone would be if they take on £100,000 commercial lease and try and fill it with yoga, try and pay the bills with yoga. As you are when you set up the first teacher training academy in the West Midlands, you go for Yoga Alliance Professionals accreditation. Am I going to get it? Am I not going to get it? You run your first international retreat. Is it going to fill? you franchise your business, which means you can't call yourself Bliss Yoga anymore. You've got to rebrand. You know, all of these things. Yes. They've all been challenges, up and down with the brain, and meditation and yoga nidra and pranayama just brings me back.
So you bring that into your training and into your franchisees' minds, that they can use these philosophies to help their business.
Yeah, we do something called mindset training, which is very interesting. It's a bit of a buzzword, I guess, but it's been around a long time, about where do you want to get to? And then we get them to write their own business plans with their sort of 3, 5 year, 1 year objectives. Where do you want to get to? And you know what? If by year 5 it's like I want to be living in Spain and have sold my business, that's absolutely cool with me.
Yes.
Because we'll find someone else. There's always someone else. There's always someone new. There's always, you know, you never know what's going to happen in a day.
Fantastic. And in terms of the future, you've talked a bit about where you're going to take it and the plans that you've got for Sandstone. What do you think about coming back to studios when COVID breaks? I mean, obviously America are a bit ahead of us, and there's a lot of conversations on social media about people wearing masks, that studios are opening, but you've got to wear a mask and you've got to be distancing. What thoughts do you have on how are we going to come out of this? As you say, our new normal, if it is in a studio, what would you anticipate it might look like?
Well, I think the guidelines we're going to be sticking very closely to the guidelines, you know, and the guidelines will change. But I think definitely the distancing will happen. Now, we've got one studio that's usually got a capacity of about 28 to 32, really. But I'm not, I mean, there are some studios out there that just really squeeze people in. That's not what we want to do or where we want to be. And I would hate to be in the middle of a big group of people. I can't imagine practicing yoga surrounded by people like that. I don't want loads of space, but I want to be able to breathe. And I don't, you know, if you think about a partner and letting go, I don't want all their stuff that they're letting go of ending up on my mat and the stuff I'm inhaling, you know. So we were at 28 in one of our studios. I think at 2 meters, Louise said we're down to 10.
Yes.
At 1.5 meters, it's 15, and at 1 meter, it's 20.
Yes.
So at 28, you can see you've got at least 0.5 meter between people. So we are being quite generous here. So I know 10's viable, 15's okay, 15's workable. And when you start to get to 20, if we can get 20 in classes, that would be great.
And I suppose, sorry, I was going to say things like equipment, sharing mats.
Yeah. So I think that's the first thing is that because it's so it might be unviable for some studios. So we've got quite a big room. So there's some studios that can only fit 12 in at the best of times. So just even on the capacity, there are some that just they're going to be able to get 3 people in and a teacher. Yes. They're not going to pay the bills. And so that's the first thing. I think it will have a big impact on studios that had already got small boxy rooms anyway. Hadn't got that big airiness. The second thing is, I think there's going to have to be some kind of regime about how you get in and how you get out.
Yes. In America, I believe that they're doing it with a mask in communal areas. So you can take it off when you're on the mat, but prior to that, everyone has to wear a mask.
Yeah, I can see mask wearing happening, but I wouldn't like it to be when you're on the mat.
No.
I can see hand wiping going on. And I can even see, I've even suggested to our studio owners that we have temperature checks.
Oh, yes. Okay.
They're about £50 and we check people's temperatures before they come in.
Okay.
I can see it having an impact in terms of scheduling. Mm-hmm. I think there'll be less classes scheduled.
And back to
I think, and I think we usually have 15 minutes turnaround between classes. I think you'll have at least half an hour, 45 minutes. I don't think you'll want the first lot of people in the building at the same time as the second lot.
Yes.
I think you'll want to get all of those people out, give it a spray, start again and get the next lot of people in. I think
Yes, and I think it's just a really good conversation for us to start having as a community, because insurance will also dictate some of stuff. Of individual insurance companies might put in boundaries about what they're prepared to insure. You have to follow guidelines. There'll be governing bodies of yoga that will try to put their rules in. So it's going to be quite a mixed opinion as we go forward, I think.
The thing is, I think it will come back. That's the thing, is people have just got to keep the faith that it will come back. But honestly, I think if you haven't got an online offering going forwards, it's going to be a bit behind.
That's good advice. Yeah.
I was gonna. I'm toying. I don't want to upset anybody, but I'm not really a big fan of pre-recorded classes. I think people prefer the online live Zoom type classes, even though they might not be as perfect and pucker and you haven't been able to shoot the angle perfectly. I think people have liked the human connection of not just watching a pre-recorded class and being able to chat beforehand and afterhand, you know. So I said to Lou and Liz and Katie and Ruth, you know, if we, you know, when we open again, we're going to have to start to think about, because you don't want to pay the teachers twice. So perhaps we Zoom from the studio.
Mm-hmm. Good idea.
So that's, you can either get to the studio, you know, or that could be Zoomed as well.
Yes, absolutely. So lots going on and lots to look forward to in the future. And just touching back on your start in yoga, I'm still thinking about your lovely entry into yoga and your spiritual aspect of it. And you've been practicing for 35 years. Can you tell somebody who maybe isn't doing yoga yet what the benefits are? Because we know them, but we want everyone to know what the benefits are. What have you experienced from your yoga practice and benefits over the years?
I think that for me, and I really respond well to yoga, that if you find yoga, you'll fall in love with it. And you won't feel right unless you do it. Things won't work as well unless you do it. And even when you do yoga, things still don't work. You know, the whole world doesn't turn out great when you do yoga, but you become better at learning to live with it and learning to cope. You make healthier decisions, you're less petty, you don't take things as personally, you're less sensitive, you can speak your truth more.
Of course.
Why wouldn't anybody want that? And your back will be stronger, your hamstrings will be more flexible, you'll probably not get arthritis in your toes, and you'll be able, you know, you'll still be able to run marathons at 50 if you want to. Whatever it is, those benefits are there. But why wouldn't someone, the whole purpose, this is why, you know, lots of people start to do more charity work as they get older, because they realize that the house doesn't matter, the car doesn't matter, this doesn't matter. What really is the value of a life is how much you can give to other people.
Absolutely.
Yoga really helps you to work out how you can do that and how you can feel really brilliant inside and confident. And, you know, why do people cry in yoga? Because they're carrying around something in their hips from when they were 7. Let it out, let it go.
Absolutely.
You know, just free yourself.
So we're advising everyone to get to a yoga class on or offline in their lifetime, definitely.
And there's got to be someone that resonates with you. And whoever, that's the thing about yoga, it's a journey. Whoever you start resonating with won't be the person that you resonate with at the end. You know, that's why it's so great that there's 57,000 varieties of yoga teachers out there. Not different. I mean, I'm a very simple hatha yoga teacher because I have a very simple practice.
And talking about inspiring yoga teachers, obviously we as teachers are able to experience new teachers online that we wouldn't get to because they might be on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Is there anyone that's particularly inspiring you in the online yoga world at the moment that you've discovered?
Well, I haven't just discovered them, but I really like Rod Stryker. So the fact that I can practice with Rod Stryker, he is pre-recorded, unfortunately. I just even love all the young people doing yoga at the moment.
Great.
You know, my kids are 17 and 19, and young people are practicing meditation now. and they're understanding they have to, you know. So I think the future for yoga is quite hopeful, because there'll be some purists out there who's like, oh yes, but you know, it's just all physical. And I agree with that. A lot of it is. But that's where we all start, right?
Yes.
And they're young.
I agree.
Imagine all these young people that are doing yoga now when they're my age, after doing it for 35 years. And they understand the breadth and depth and all of the rich tapestry that a yoga practice is involved with and can give you.
Fantastic. Yes, well, there's definitely a future, and very much a future with Sandstone Yoga and Pilates. So
thank you.
Anything else that you would like to share with the listeners today?
I think that the one thing that I've come across in the yoga world, through training so many teachers, is that people suffer from something called yoga whelm, I would call it, where they just get completely overwhelmed. And I think that's even more possible now that it's so much is online. So people used to get a bit angsty and a bit panicky when someone on the teacher training course had set up their own Facebook page or had set up their own Instagram, and they were now posting and they looked brilliant, and they didn't. Do you know what? Just do what you want. Forget the yoga whelm, because there's always someone somewhere doing something much better than you. You get on your mat, you work out who you're meant to be working with and the way you want to do your yoga, and the people will come.
Of course. And that goes back to your Dharma, doesn't it?
And that goes back to your Dharma. You won't find your Dharma looking on social media. You won't find your Dharma on a teacher training course, really. You will find it when you're on your mat and you're silent, or when you're in a church or a chapel or a gurdwara or a temple or wherever it is, a mosque, and you're quiet, or by the side of the sea or at the top of a mountain.
Great. Well, that's been some amazing advice, and I can see why the business aspect of it you can really add to people's teacher training. So I'm sure you have lots of interested parties. So Michelle, we really enjoyed today.
Thanks, Emma. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome.
Thanks for tuning in to Voices of Yoga, and we hope you feel inspired. You can find more of our free podcasts at www.voicesofyoga.com, and we are on all the main podcast platforms too. We are very open to comments and suggestions, so if you'd like to also leave us a review on iTunes, that would be fantastic. If you would like to know when the most recent podcast is going to be broadcast, you can sign up to our newsletter on the website, and we will drop you an email with that recent update. Voices of Yoga is our passion project, and if you like what we're doing and you would like to support us, it would be very much appreciated. And you can do that through a very small donation on our website on the donation button if you feel so inclined. If you would like to collaborate with us in terms of sponsorship, advertising, or even suggest coming on and being a guest, then please drop us an email at voicesofyoga@mail.com. So thanks again, and we look forward to bringing you another inspiring yoga story next week. Namaste.